Craig Brain is not your brain or my brain. Love it or hate it or something in between. Welcome to the squishy, alien middle inside of this dude's skull. Take a peek. Take a peek.
It's Craig Gross. I'm still here. Back at my studio. If you're watching, it's rental. It's a rental. You saw that. We gave it up. It's just a ugly office room that they made cool. So this week, I'm talking about Christmas. I don't know what you do for Christmas. If you are the type that has that big snowman on your roof, or you celebrate the reason for the season, or what you do. My wife and I, we have mixed feelings on Christmas. She grew up in a house that overly celebrated like the joy of Christmas, but they didn't really understand the joy of Christmas. So it's, now about gifts and games and all that. And I grew up obviously understanding the meaning of Christmas with Jesus and all that. But as we've had kids, we've just kind of had to chart our new way. Like I remember before having kids, we're like, let's go away on Christmas and try and invite our families to come with us. And it was like, we can't break tradition, and then we're like, we're going to do something different on Christmas every year. And then we had kids, they wanted to stay home. So we just kind of listen as a family and decide like, hey, what do we want to actually do this year? And so a lot of times that might be going away. A lot of times that lately that's been just being at home, having family the last couple of years, be a part. We've flown on some Christmas days to our family. So I remember we made a decision early on. I made this one for our family. I am not going to lie to my kids about Santa, and I'm going to tell them from day one it's fake. And then my wife was always like, well, you got to make sure they don't tell the cousins that. I never understand that. Why do we have to hide truth? Oh, we'll ruin Christmas for them. I think you might be ruining Christmas for them. Anyway, side note. So if you're lying to your kids and you feel comfortable about it, I mean, there's probably another podcast you can listen to on lies that hurt your kids. And maybe that's the reason why they might be living with you till they're 35 and not have a job. It probably will all track back to Santa. Not like technology and phones, but Santa. You could be ruining their lives, but anyways, I'm not talking about Santa. I'm not talking anything, but Christmas. This journal I wrote on Christmas Eve, and I didn't write it as a journal. Actually, I sat in my office that night. My family was in town, and everyone was asleep. And like I've told you, I've gone through kind of my journals. I've written a lot, and so I thought it's the end of the year. I wanted to look back at some of the stuff I had written. I also used notes on my computer, the notepad. So I had 138 different notes that weren't even titled. There's no rhyme or rhythm to them. But I was like, oh, maybe take them out of notes into the journal, organize it. That's what I was going to do on Christmas Eve. I ended up making a cootie catcher for my daughter. I learned that on YouTube because her present was an experience, not a gift. And so I gave that. I'll talk about that later, I'm sure. But so I figured out how to make a cootie catcher and give her a gift as a cootie catcher. Then I ended up just writing a letter, and there was a lot in there. But what I felt like with my family, particularly, like a lot of stuff that had been swirling around in my head or on paper, I was going through maybe by myself, or it was stuff that I never kind of shared, or I just thought, looking at a yearbook earlier that day, I was reminded that oftentimes we look back at things and we read about it, but we missed out on what that was all about in the moment. And so I just kind of wrote this letter to my family, and I said, hey, I wanted to read it for you guys. We ended up reading it at a Round Table Pizza up the road in their party room because nobody was having a party the day after Christmas. And so my intention was to read it on actual Christmas Day, but our other family, extended family, was here. So I waited one day and read it. And there's a lot of stuff in there. But my son's recording these videos, and I was like, totally impromptu. We didn't rehearse this one. I was like, hey, why am I going to try and explain a letter that I wrote? I read it to Nolan, and this isn't that's Nolan, but you're going to sit in this chair. Oh. I just wanted you to what would you have to say on it? You can say anything you want. Yeah, that was just like, so anyways, you take the seat. You're in the podcast chair now.
All right.
Welcome.
Hey guys, I'm taking over the podcast now. Do you like that? ASMR. All right, but for real, I guess, well, for the letter that he wrote to us, yeah, we were sitting at John's eating pineapple pepperoni pizza. Oh, round table. Yeah, sorry. John's? Not John's. But yeah, he read the letter to us, and it was like I had this weird feeling while he was reading it, because I didn't know if because we're pretty open, you can cry or whatever. You can show your emotions in our family, like we're not holding that back. But I was like, should I cry or should I be like, yeah, this is so good? But it was like I made myself not cry by trying to hold it back for some reason, until my mom and sister started crying. I was like, yo, I can't hold this back. It was just it was really good, just all the stuff that he was saying, because he was sharing what he felt, and to write that all in one night after what, our family was there, we were experiencing different things and just, going through life. And he was like, hey, I've been thinking about this, this is kind of a recap of 2018, going into 2019. So I guess, I don't know if that's what you wanted me to say, but it's how I felt.
Say whatever you wanted to say. I was trying to give him a recap, and I thought, well, you're sitting here. You're the first guest.
Goodbye. First guest. Never tried ASMR, but this is it.
Thank you, Nolan. Here's our Postmates. Here you go. Here's my phone. He's literally Postmating us some food, and I just was like, what did you think? So anyways, what I said in the letter, you can read online, and I thought I'd just share it. It kind of goes with this whole Craig brain thing. That's stuff I was processing, stuff I was kind of living out. And I think the commitment I tried to say to the kids, when you get a good idea and you think it's a good idea, you're writing something, and then you're like, oh, wait, read it? I'll read it out loud? I don't know, at round table? It was just kind of weird. And Nolan said, we do a good job of sharing our feelings, but at times I think it's hard. It's hard to I only saw my dad cry one time in my life, half a tear when I left for college. But my dad's gotten, I've seen him get mad at me a lot. He even tried to chase me once. It was good luck, dude. You're so slow. But I seen him cry one time when I visited his childhood house, which is a fun story. And he stood in the room that his dad built, his bedroom, and he opened the blueprints that had his dad's name on it. It was I'm so pissed. I didn't have an iPhone. I had a freaking disposable camera. I don't know where the film is. Yeah, it was the only time I ever saw him cry. And so I think we're trying to do a better job of that as our family. But I think the takeaway for me going into 2019 was how do you share more stuff as you're experiencing it, as you're feeling it, as you're living it, rather than writing about it, sitting on it, and then coming back to that a year later and be like, hey, remember when I did this? That's why this was a big deal. And so as a family, we just kind of set out and made some goals, made some kind of things that we're working on. And that kind of exercise came from that letter. On the back of our laundry room, we just put everybody's, hey, here's our goals, here's our rhythms, here's the things that we're going to try and implement, and here's what we're working for. Here's what we're working after. Here's what we're chasing. Here's what, and it's fun to actually verbalize that. And then you see, especially as your family, you're like, that's what my daughter really wants. And then when she gets it, you're like, that's so much more special. The thing that had happened, and for me, it was I never told anyone, this is what I wanted. And then when it happened, you're like, oh, you're sharing that kind of all alone. So I think for me, it's something I'm working through. It's something that I think I can do a better job of. And so that's what this was about. I said to my kids in that letter, I don't know if it's something I do every year. The goal for me would be hey, I don't need a Christmas update. I lived with you the last 364 days, so I know what's been going on. But I do think there's something special about the Christmas times or the end of the year, like I said, when man, I just read Levi's, albums of the year. I disagree with a few of those, but it's his list. It's not my list. And I like that he puts out a list because I love his musical taste enough to go, man, I want to listen to that. How did I miss that album? And so I think when you end a year, it's always fun to look back. And it's also, to me, way more fun, though, to look ahead at what's around the corner. Anyways, that's all I got. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for thinking through Craig Brain. This podcast is only a small summarized part of a larger conversation. To read the full story, check out www.craigbrain.com, join the Craig Brain group on Facebook, and follow @Craig Gross on whatever social suits your fancy.